Hi, this is Derek Harp, the founder and chairman of CyPhy and the host of the CyPhy podcast show. And today we've got something a little bit different than what we have been doing. Although I've invited both of these gentlemen to also share their personal professional journeys, sort of the biographies we've been doing. But today we're going to talk about a really important initiative and project that both have been working on for years now, and we'll sort of get into the history of it, the ICS Village. So I'm talking with Bryson Bort, the CEO and founder of SCYTHE, and Tom VanNorman, who is the senior vice president at GRIMM, and both focused on cybersecurity for control systems for many years, and both well known in the industry. But people might not know, some people in our community might not know about the ICS Village, might not have been to one of the conferences where it's been featured. And so we'll talk about that, where it's seen and how people can interact with it. And so I think welcome to the show, Tom and Bryson. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you, Derek.
Glad to be here. Good to see you again after S4.
Yes, we survived it. It was a great week. Great week. Yeah. Nothing like getting together face to face. It felt like the good old times felt novel, right? They felt different. Like, wow, face to face and getting together with folks and having drinks. It was nice. So let's talk about the ICS Village. I think go back, Tom, you and I crossed paths many years ago, a decade ago, and you were there's precursor to what you and Bryson are doing today that goes back a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah, Derek, that if memory serves me correctly, we started this about 8 years ago. So okay. This was a DefCon about 8 years ago. They were looking for villages, and a few people within the community, got together and said, "Hey, we should start the ICS Village." No idea what the ICS Village or what a village was, but my a previous employer supported me doing it. Donated a bunch of hardware, software, money, time, things like that. So between that and I bet you we had a dozen different people from the community pitching that first year. It was born.
All right. So something happens though. You go from if I remember right, I remember seeing somewhere around that time from a sort of a wall with some stuff on it, and people could come up to it and interact. And it was at the SANS conference in Orlando that I was helping organize at the time. That must have gotten some positive, I remember it getting really positive feedback. People being able to see cyber to physical happening, right? You could see it right there. There was physical stuff, and you could interact with it, and you could see the effect. And that was at the time. Had anybody else done that?
So the best of my knowledge, nobody else has done that. So when we started this 8 years ago, we were all just really shooting from the hip. Hey, this is what we think we should do. This is what we're going to do. And we hobbled against a bunch of money from different people. And
wait, as opposed to now where we're not shooting from the hip at all. It's all planned, all very well organized, and thoroughly executed.
Yeah, sure.
So my previous employer, they had trade show booths and things like that. We said, all right, hey, let's take one of these trade show booths to, a hacking conference. And we did, and it turned out pretty cool, but we quickly realized that this does not work very well. It doesn't, it takes too many people, it takes too much resources to move it. So about 3 years later, when we went to the SANS conference, probably 5 or 6 years ago, roughly, I don't know, time flies now. We put together a much simpler design that we could put in a crate. We pull out, we set it up, and hey, look at that! Now we have these cyber physical components on there. We can show how to hack them, how to attack them, how to defend them. We see the cyber physical impact. In this case here, we have a water tank that we can drain or overfill into a spill chamber. We have alarms and lights and stuff like that. But we've really we defined that process and what we're showing over the years to what we have today.
And that has, I think we'll get to what you're doing today, but I'm assuming that phase then really informed things. Where do you and Bryson, now there's an entity formed, there's a 501c3, and it's obviously, it's independent. It's not a particular vendor's thing, but you've got people contributing to it. You've got a variety of sponsors. How's that all come about?
Yep. So after the first DefCon, it's a lot of work. And we had a couple of people from GRIMM that participated in that. The following year, our anytime you have an organization with a lot of volunteers, those volunteers tend to fall off pretty quickly. We've seen that in whatever organization we work in. It's nothing against the volunteers. It's life takes over. You're not getting paid to do this, and people fall out. So by the second year, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I met Bryson at that time. And I'm like, Bryson, hey, I'm out. I can't do this. The volunteers, it ended up being where my company was funding a lot of the stuff.
Hold on. We got to back up. We got to back up to RSA. So ICS Village back in the day was only 2 events a year. It was DefCon and it was RSA. And kudos to RSA for being forward leading on this, because they helped fund us coming there to do that. And at the time, I was heavily involved with the car hacking village because I was doing work with a guy named Atlas and some other folks on car hacking before that became a big thing. So before Vlasic and Miller first did their whole Wired article on how to attack a car, we were already doing all of that research. We just didn't go public with it. And we built an equivalent of the wall of a car where we were the first people to take an entire car and explode it onto a board. So we called it Forward on a Board, aka 3PO. So you could be able to interact with any part of a car. Again, going back to the biggest value with the spaces that we work in is being able to demonstrate a physical effect. It's not just abstract nerd data stuff. It's like, no, I see the steering wheel not work. I see the brakes do this and do that.
I can get quickly.
And like, I think a lot of these things, it was a classic passion project of a lot of energy and passion and very little money. So this first iteration of 3PO was a bare like plywood board. I don't know, it was probably like 4x5 with all these parts, wires sticking out every direction. And Tom was kind enough to be like, hey, you can bring that with the ICS Village at RSA. And to show how little planning we had put into this, it didn't even occur to us that like once we got there, this was going to be something we would have to find some way to display. And so it's just this board by itself. We leaned it against the wall and people were coming up and kind of like, well, what's this? And particularly with RSA being such a big glitzy IT event, the most common thing we got was, we know this is the most engineering thing here because it looks like it, which I think was a backhanded compliment. Yeah. After that, during RSA then, so Tom and I really started getting to talking. We started talking about what was going on at the ICS Village. And I was like, well, of course, I want to help support that. And I was still heavily with Car Hacking Village, I guess, up until 2017. But 15, 16, and 17, GRIMM and my team, we were very much involved with the ICS Village in sponsoring it and helping bring it. And the real turning point was 2017 at DefCon. I joke we were in the cloaca of the hotel. Like, nobody could find the ICS Village. We were in this tiny little room in the back, and it was not our best showing at that time. There were 3 exhibits. We had the wall. We had this crazy academic project from England. I don't know if you remember what that was, Tom.
I don't, but I know that you're
crazy academic project. And then we had an ICS IoT project that I had built at GRIMM, it's called Howdy Neighbor, and it's like all these integrated systems into a house and into multiple different things. And that was it. That was all the DefCon. And the only reason the wall and like Core ICS Village even made it that year was GRIMM was the only sponsor. And I pulled Tom aside and I was just like, wow, dude, like, I believe in what we can do here. And I mean, you know, what's this, 5 years ago? Critical infrastructure was not a conversation anybody was having. Nobody cared about industrial control systems. But Tom and I both believed there was so much purpose and value in the idea. And I pitched him, I was like, hey, I don't want to like rock the boat here, but I think we can do this in another way. So it's easier for the community and companies that have some money to help make this something more regular. So we're not just doing the passion project and even still with all of that, Tom and I have spent an inordinate amount of money out of our own pockets to make this work.
Well, I love it. I mean, this is, straight to my heart. This is entrepreneurial to 100%, right? I mean, it's just how startups work as well. It's like, if you look back, like, oh my God, it was so immature and it was so this, and then it, like, how did you end up here? And it's a journey, right, of evolution and innovation and feedback and trying different things. And now it's too bad that you probably don't have Forward on the Board anymore. That original piece, it'd be artwork, it'd be techno art. And
no, GRIMM still has it. GRIMM still tours with Forward on a Board.
The same one,
prettier
one you described with all the wires poking out?
Oh, no, it's not all the wires. It's
yeah. If you
you've probably seen it more recently
than I have. As art, so. All right, well, so let's talk through this evolution. You guys, it makes sense. You take this this phase you're at, and Tom, I totally heard you on volunteer recruitment, management, retention. I mean, I know a lot about what you're talking about there. It is a challenge. So you thought, it sounded to me like you sought to build some sort of entity to support this thing long term, right? To give it a long term support and a way to raise money for more sponsors. Would that be part of that entity formation?
Absolutely. So once Bryson and GRIMM got involved, we quickly realized, hey, the potential is so much greater than what we can payroll. We can fund with our own funds. Let's go turn that into a nonprofit. Let's go out and get sponsors. Let's go get more people within the community and different companies and whatnot to help us with this journey and push it along.
Yeah, I love it. So how's that journey evolving, and where? I know that some people who'll be listening to this have never seen it, they've never heard about it. Where would they interact with it? What are the ways they can interact with it? One of the ways that to interact with it, interact with ICS Village, is at our conference we just had back on May 4th. We have a Hack the Capitol. This year we had several hundred people attend in person and about the same remote. So it's beginning to be a pretty good sized conference. We also do several other in-person events every year, such as RSAC coming up in June, DefCon in August, and we do many local events or smaller events. For example, we're going to run our CTF at a community college event in Dayton, Ohio, coming up week after next. So we while we do the big national events, we also really like doing the small local ones. We get to interact with people more on a more personal level, get to really show them what's going on with the control system, what control systems are, some vulnerabilities within them, how to protect them, really get more hands-on and personal with people. And people can go to icsvillage.com and see an interactive model right now. So if they're curious, like what are they talking about, and they just want to visualize it, go to icsvillage.com and click load the interactive model and run the video.
See what Bryson looks like with a pandemic beard.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking at it again. I'm like, yeah, he was rocking the COVID look. Yeah.
we did that over the pandemic because we couldn't get out in front of people. So Bryson came up here to Pennsylvania for a day. We went to a studio down the road here, and we filmed it. When they edited it and put it up there, and that was our response to, hey, we can't get out in front of people. This is what control systems are. This is what we do.
That's been the big pivot for us the last 2 years. Is prior to that, everything we did was in person. If you wanted to have anything to do with us, the only way to do it was to come to one of the events. And the good news is we did 15 to 20 events a year, besides RSA and DefCon being the two major events. We created our own conference, Hack the Capitol, and so those were kind of the three big things that we did every year. But then on top of that, we did a lot of the either ICS specific or security specific conferences throughout the country. And the pandemic happened, and of course all of that stopped. And we were like, not only do we need to find a way to still be engaging folks, but also our capture the flag, which was very much an in-person thing, we had to adapt that. And so that's something where Tom's humble about these things, but he led a project to do a lot of research to find a way to kind of create this remote middleware ability so that we could time slot back to physical things and be able to do the capture the flag virtually. We started doing monthly tabletop exercises. We have our own monthly podcast called Hack the Plant that's now done in collaboration with the Atlantic Council. We are continuing to look for a lot more virtual things that we can do and grow that. That's been on our roadmap is how can we continue to make this something that continues to go forward. That also ties into the memorandums of understanding that we have with Departments of Energy and Homeland Security, where we have started collaborating with them on a lot of the labs that they have. So DHS's lab, CISA, theirs is called Cellar. And I want to say that one is out of, is it Sandia or Idaho? Do you remember, Tom? I forget.
Yep. So they have majority in Idaho National Labs, and they have one over at PNNL.
And that was one of the neat things that we just did. The world debut at Hack the Capitol was CISA has created an ICS escape room, and the full version, which is going to be this 20 by 20 thing with its own dedicated space, is going to be at DefCon. So we're expecting a lot of interest and excitement about that. And that really ties back to what is our mission. Most people, again, this didn't change a lot in 5 years, is most people do not know what industrial control systems are. What's a PLC? I don't know. Why do I care? And so that's the initial point of meeting folks and getting them initially exposed to the vocabulary and understanding of ICS.
Yeah,
the second is
HMI, RTU. What are these crazy things?
DCS, yeah, right. And then the second are IT practitioners who we want them to understand, because they're looking at risk management and a lot of the business continuity and disaster recovery processes as their job, recognizing you're in an industrial control system environment. You might think the power plant's only over there, but how does electricity actually get handled to come to your office? What about the water? What about the HVAC? What about the physical security systems? What about if you have pressure and isolation? And recognizing that that is a part of your risk profile. And then the third, which really ties to the wall and a lot of the capture the flag and hands-on training that we do at these, is helping IT security practitioners make the jump. Because it seems like such an obtuse field to them until you actually get your hands on and, oh, now I understand how ladder logic works on a PLC. And that makes it easier for them to begin a career, not just being IT security professionals, but being OT security professionals. And so that ties to how we fill the three elements of our mission.
Well, that's awesome. And we certainly know with our mission, that's very compatible, which is we got to get people from a variety of sources to be the workforce for this area. And we can't, they won't all come from heavy engineering backgrounds and then learn some cybersecurity. They're going to also be people with IT and cyber backgrounds and need to learn engineering. We got both, right? It's a fusion process, and people have all their opinions about where the best cyber people come from. Well, the truth is, if you have lots and lots of job openings, they need to come from multiple places. And I love this, that you're helping build that early awareness with like, okay, this is how these things are different, because that's not fundamentally understood by folks who haven't looked at it yet. This is a real visceral, physical kind of thing, and from a learning mode, that's awesome to be able to see it in the flesh, so to speak. So what's next? RSA, right? You guys will be, that's coming up soon. You'll be there, early June 6th, right?
June 6th to the 9th. Yep, we have 2 pods there. We will be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 7, 8, 9. My math is right here. We have 2 pods. One is focused on industrial control systems in healthcare. Your hospitals have ICS in them. They have, power and water and different gases and HVAC and things like that. And healthcare is starting to get a lot more attention. And, we found it'd be a great opportunity to say, hey, control systems are part of healthcare also.
Yeah.
Not just your X-ray machines and your MRI machines and things like that, but your water pumps and power and things like that. The other space that we have there in the sandbox is we're going to have a threat hunting themed area. So we have an adversary emulation tool, CyPhy, that's going to be there to show how or actions that adversaries can perform. We have other sponsors that have joined up to be there to talk about different parts of threat hunting, different forensics, stuff like that. That hey, you this is how you threat hunt. This is the information that you're going to see. We have network visibility vendors, consultants, stuff like that, and then we have CISA is going to be there with their little arc flash seller kit. So that's going to be the thing that hopefully draws people in when it starts to make noise, and it's a housing development that you can attack, and the lights go out and it makes arcs and flashes, and you smell the ozone coming out of it, and things like that. So it's looking to be a pretty good time. We have a lot of really good sponsors and a lot of really good volunteers lined up to come help with it. Talk about threat hunting, talk about control systems in healthcare. So yeah, if you're going to be there, come on out. We're in the Moscone South, second floor.
Yeah, if you want to see the ICS Village, and especially if you're going to RSA anyway, which I know some of our listeners will be, go check this out. June 6th through 9 in San Francisco, one of the largest, well, I guess the largest cybersecurity conference in the world, but there's a growing influence. I've gone on and off for 20 years to this event, and now for sometimes ICS, Control System Cybersecurity, not only is your sort of display there, there's people speaking about it, there's tracks on it. I mean, it's begun to be a piece of what goes on there, right? It's getting attention that it didn't, not that many years ago, it didn't get much attention.
I absolutely. This year here we have I bet you probably 10 or so talks that are control system specific. We also have training. GRIMM's going to be doing a tabletop, and there's a few other companies that will be doing tabletops and or training there also.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out for my own talk, because I'm going to be moderating a panel with TSA in the post-colonial pipeline. And the big thing here is TSA is going to admit where they made some mistakes on that. So it's not just a government getting up there and going, hey, everything's great, security directives 1 and 2, everybody loves them, which is not true, and could have been handled a bit better. And so that's also going to include the American Petroleum Institute and a journalist from Cyberscoop. So we're going to have some other folks there on stage to keep them honest. But I really like when government commits to those kinds of authentic answers, because I think that builds the credibility. And that's been one of the challenges, to where everybody trots out and says public-private partnership and information sharing is the solution to all of our problems. And that trust has been corrosive to that. So that's also an example tied to what we do and a part of the track that we're going to be doing at RSA.
Well, awesome, and thank you guys for all your years. I really was trying to come up with a joke for Air Force, Army, and Navy. 3 guys walk into a bar. We got that covered here. We could make fun of the Marines. There's nobody here to defend themselves.
Derek, it's easy. You and I were the only ones that were in the military.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, well, thank you guys for that too, part of your bios and backgrounds. Thank you for your service. I always like to note that when I see it. And so come see the ICS Village coming up soon at the RSA conference, and then at other places. Obviously, you've got a calendar events on the website.
Capture the flag, call for papers for DefCon is open. So we host our own stable of talks at DefCon, and we have the option for virtual and in person. So lots of flexibility for you to submit your ideas. We love to feature all the latest research and different debates.
Where can someone do that?
Well, I mean, it's off of our website. I think is it up on the website yet, Tom? Remember, everything's planned and organized here.
If it's not, it will be by the time this podcast gets released.
There we go. Find it on our website, icsvillage.com, events page, DefCon. There will be the CFP, but it's out. It's open for at least another month and a half. So I think your viewers, of course, are a phenomenal audience to come and speak at that conference.
Well, hey, thank you, Tom and Bryson, again for everything, and for coming and giving a shout out, and for your previous support of things we're trying to do with the workforce. And look forward to more collaboration. I think we should be talking about maybe doing some sort of event with you guys. That sort of popped clearer into perspective as you guys were talking. So awesome all the way around, and stay safe and be well in the meantime.